Good morning, Bishop Jane here, and this is my husband Steve. And we've been asked to share a little bit about marriage with you. We've been married 47 years, 47 and a half years.
Okay.
And don't know if we have a lot to share with you, but one thing that I know I can share with you, if it hadn't been for Jesus being in the middle of our marriage, there were a lot of difficult times that he brought us through. And so I thank God that we had him in our life for most of our life. I accepted the Lord after we were married when I was 21. And
I probably did too, but I was raised in the Catholic Church. So went to a Catholic school. Who knows? God knows.
but at some point I remember having a prayer meeting at our house, and the two pastors that were there prayed with you. And that was in our 30s, I think.
Yeah.
In our early 30s. And God's been with us ever since. And we have 4 children.
Yep.
3 boys and 1 girl. And 12 grandchildren and 1 great-granddaughter. So lots of
Yep.
fruitfulness.
Yep.
So, dear, do you want to share anything about getting married? And
It was a big step. I was a wild child. But I'm glad I married her. Actually, the reason we even got together was a friend of mine's wife said that she was the one for me. And, it's been not easy. It's been 47 years, 47 and a half. And, but if you love somebody, you don't let the bad or the hardships get to you. You're a union. You're one.
I know part of it, I think I shared in the last message, was that you make the choice that no matter what, to stay together.
Yeah.
And that's huge. And trust God in everything. Gosh, remember times we didn't have a lot of money.
Yeah.
And kids wrote notes on the wall. We want real food, Mom.
Yeah, there was times where our children ate and we didn't.
Yeah, we ate popcorn so they could
Yeah.
eat.
And yeah.
So one of the things I shared in the last message, I believe, or at least in a book that we're writing, is that when I was a young bride, we had a situation where we went on vacation. And our first vacation with my parents, and we went to a restaurant, and we went to order some food, and I showed him what I wanted, and he complained and said it was too expensive. And so I ordered something cheaper, and I watched him order something more expensive, like a steak. And I remember as a young bride being very crushed, thinking, making the thought in my heart, he doesn't want to take care of me. And then making the vow that if I'm going to have anything, I will have to earn it. And from that point forward, I was afraid to ask him for anything, for our house, for me, or anything that I wanted. I was afraid to ask him for help for it. And so I worked and tried to provide everything that I wanted for myself rather than allowing him to take care of me. So knowing that, dear, what's your side of that, of all those years?
I don't know. I don't worry about it. It's gone.
Well, it's gone, but maybe helping some of the younger men.
You have to work together. I don't think I realized I did it until after quite a few years you said something about it.
And that's the secret. What if I had instead talked to him about it in the very beginning rather than just believing that he didn't want to care for me. And it was like 40 years later that I finally was able to get my heart
God,
healed.
we'd really have a lot of money then, working together.
Yeah, can you imagine if you worked together instead of separate? But I'm really glad that we finally have come to a place where we can talk about the things, and, because there's such power in agreement.
Yeah, talk about them at the point and try not to be hurtful and listen and, you know,
Listen to both sides, because there's always two sides,
yeah.
and not jump to conclusions. And yeah, it's one of the things that has really helped us get closer, because we have been able to talk about some of the difficult things that are troubling us instead of stuffing it. As the term here in America is, you stuff it into your heart and you keep it to yourself and you stew over it and you worry about it and you let it affect you, instead of talking to each other about it. And makes a difference.
Yeah, well, my dad had an analogy about, well, stuff, just stuff you acquire. You age it, and if you age a problem, it doesn't get old and rusty. It gets worse.
Yeah. Mulling it over in your head and thinking about all the ways it could go instead of talking it out. Like you said, it gets worse.
Yeah, instead of finding out that I can't even remember. I remember that, and I was probably being a smart aleck more than anything. Which I don't know how that'll equate to for them, but
Teasing.
yeah, teasing.
Yeah. And yet I was wounded, and so, just probably out of places of rejection. And money was always kind of an issue growing up. We never had a lot of money as a family when I was growing up. My dad was a teacher with 6 kids, and they got paid once a month, and there wasn't always money for anything extra. And so here I am, a young bride, thinking, wow, things are going to change. And yet in my heart, that wasn't healed, I took that as just a deep rejection.
And I was a young man that didn't have a really good job, so it was still a struggle.
Yeah, it was hard. So let's talk a minute about coming together in unity, that we've learned over the last few years, through some teachings, especially about sowing seed into the kingdom and giving into the kingdom. We learned the power of joining together in agreement. So talk about when we give at church, and when we're sowing a seed, what we do.
Well, we just come to agreement over what we're going to sow it for, and then pray over it together. Because the two of you joined as one are more powerful than each one separate.
Yeah, and the Bible says that one can put 1,000 to flight and two can put 10,000 to flight. So when you come into agreement, you can wreak havoc with the devil's camp and the enemy that's coming against you, against your finances.
Against your household, your family. Because you both take control over it. And, a lot of people think, Jane is in the forefront of her ministry, and I'm in the background, and I'm fine with that.
Yeah, he's been extremely supportive, not only just encouraging and being a good ear to listen when I've had difficulties come, but he's also financially supported this ministry tremendously. He's been a real support, and that's been really encouraging to me, that he's standing with me, beside me in this ministry, and also sometimes behind me, pushing me forward.
And it's in our culture in the United States is a lot different than your cultures everywhere else in the world. It's the rest of the world cultures are, the man is in front, the man is in charge, and things are different cultures. Things are different, and everyone needs to understand that. But as a husband and wife, you're joined together. So
Working together for the kingdom. And I remembered I was sharing about the time that we went in and laid hands on John.
Oh, yeah.
So, our brother-in-law, who was in a coma for 21 days, and
And he wasn't my favorite person.
never mind. We love you, John. But the Lord told us that we should go in there together and lay our hands on him. And do you remember what happened the minute we touched him?
Well, I felt electricity.
I remember him jolting off the bed,
Yep.
and then nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then nothing. And yet, within the next hour, he'd woke up.
But the nurses made a comment. They witnessed it.
Yeah, they witnessed him waking up and saw the power of God that had flown through, had gone through him. And then he began slowly to recover. There's a difference between a miracle and a healing. A miracle is instant. Had it been an instant miracle, he would have literally just gotten up off that bed completely healed. But a healing, which is still of the Lord, took time. I think he spent, 3 months in rehab,
Yeah.
gaining back his strength and getting his body to function again. And so it wasn't an immediate healing, but there's power. In fact, let me just show you. When you join hands together and do things for the Lord, there is great power because you are one in the Spirit. And when you join together as husband and wife, you become one in the Spirit. And it's like, I just want to call it supercharged. that Go ahead, babe.
No, I'm.
Anyway, just supercharged. But let's change the subject for just a minute and share some fun things that's been happening in our marriage over the last couple of years that has just really given me a greater appreciation and love for my husband. And,
Such as, what did I do? I'll have to remember that.
So we've been living in two separate locations for the last 2 years, maybe 2.5 years, because he really liked his job and wanted to stay in our former location, and I moved over to be closer to help with babies, who then moved to Florida. But oh well, we're here now in this
Yeah.
beautiful place. This is our backyard, by the way, and. But he started doing something that just really blessed me. He started sending me a text every morning to say good morning. And why don't you share a little bit about that and why?
Well, it's just good morning. I'm not there to wake up with you, but I can send you a message waking up with you.
And each message was a little different.
And I actually like receiving one back, too.
Yeah, because I start sending them back. And we get those little emojis, the hearts and the different little emojis to send back and forth.
And then, yeah, because with my job, I'm 4.5 hours away from where I live. So I live where my job is and then come home on the weekends. And then during the day, I can FaceTime her and we can see each other a little bit. And just as busy as our life has been, I've told people, I was all excited because I hadn't seen my wife in 5 or 6 weeks or 7, whatever. And it's like, I've seen the people that I deliver gasoline and petrol. And, I tell them, I go, I see you more than I've seen my wife in person. And, I'm going to go see her in person. And I was all excited. And they're like, no kidding, good for you.
And it was nice. We haven't seen each other for so long. This year has been a year of travel. Started out in January going to Africa, to Uganda, and coming back was home for 3 days, and then went to Florida for 3 weeks to help my daughter who had surgery. Was home for 3 days, and then went to be with my mother for a week to help take care of my mother. On my way home from there, I picked up Brother Timothy from India, who was here for, I think, 2 or 3 weeks. dropped him off at the airport on Thursday, and excuse me, dropped him off on Thursday, and left on Friday to go to where'd I go? Oh, Arizona.
Yeah.
And was there for 6 weeks, and this week is the first week that we're back home, and we've actually spent time together.
Yeah.
And it's been really nice to be able to just spend some time together.
Yeah, I mean, I've been driving truck for like 45 years, and I've always been able to be back home within a week or overnight, you know, and this is the first time in our lifetime that we've been apart for that long. And what makes it nice is the excitement of coming home to see her.
Yeah, and just getting some quality time together. It's funny that we just started FaceTiming each other in the last, maybe a couple months, yeah.
Couple months, yeah, and it's like we could have done this earlier. This is dumb.
Yeah, we were talking on the phone, and it's like I'm talking to people all over the world on FaceTime, and all of a sudden it was like, wait a minute, why aren't we FaceTiming? We could at least see each other while we talk, and so that's been something that we started doing was...
Oh, it's warming up. The bugs are coming out.
Yeah, the bugs are coming into the backyard, but... I don't know, if we could just give you some advice, it's don't give up.
Talk to each other.
Yeah, talk to each other and don't give up. Don't walk away.
Share your life together.
Yeah, there's so much you can do together. Take time to do a few things together. Sometimes we just go on a trip together, and we travel really well together. We get along great when we're traveling. We get along good here too.
Yeah.
But there's just something about being alone in a car with no distractions, nobody drawing on you and trying to steal away your time. Sometimes I know for me it's really interesting because I've got phone calls coming in and video calls coming in all the time, and sometimes you just have to turn it off or leave it in the other room and walk away from it so that he has a little bit of time.
Yeah, some time with my wife, and just advice is give your family time. You know, give them some time. We've had quite a few prophets, evangelists travel through the house, and it's like you need to give your family some time too. You know, it's serving God is great, but you also need to let your family know you love them, because sometimes, quick story, I had a friend whose dad died of a massive heart attack doing what he loved, camping in a place that he loved, and he was mad at God for taking his dad, and I go, why? You know, so you don't want your family to get mad at God because God has all your time, and they don't. You know, my kids talked one time, I didn't even know about it. And they were arguing over who got to do what with Dad. And they were all jealous of what the other one got to do. I'm kind of teared up because a buddy of mine that's passed away actually told me about it. And kind of miss him. What a time to miss him.
Yeah, you go through.
So you need to spend just some time with your family too, so that they can love you like you love God, and you can show them that you love them too.
Yeah, that's important. Time together is important, and it's wonderful to go out and travel the world and minister God's love. But if you don't come home and show the same love to your family, then what good is that? That's being two separate personalities.
Family and wife, and I deal with people from a lot of different cultures, and I understand that in different cultures it's different than it is here, and it's people have different attitudes on it and stuff, and the wife is serves her husband, and whatever he wishes is pretty much her command. But you also need to let her know you appreciate her once in a while.
And same here. Let him know you appreciate him.
Yeah.
You know, I knew he was coming home, so one of the things I did was make a couple things that I knew he really liked. He loves macaroni salad. So I made sure there was a big bowl waiting for him when he came home, and you know, tried to put into the house as far as food some things that he liked, that I knew he would enjoy, rather than just things that I wanted or I liked. I made his favorite cookies for him, and I had those in the freezer. So he's got his oatmeal raisin cookies for anyone interested. And just doing the little things like that. I remember one time one of his favorite dishes was beef stroganoff, and I realized one time that in 40 some years I think I'd only made it 2 or 3 times. And I thought, wow, that's his favorite dish. Why am I not making it more often?
Yeah, it's easier to get it from the package.
But I actually took the time, I remember that time, making him all his favorite things that he liked for that dinner. And just, I remember him coming home saying, "Who's coming for dinner?"
Yeah.
I said, "You are. I just wanted to bless you and make you the things you liked, rather than, you know, I make it for everybody else.
Yeah.
Why not your husband? I mean, he's more important." So, so take the time to be sure to bless your husband as well. But anyway, do you want to just say a father's blessing over the people? And
I don't even know what prayer. I don't have a prayer coming to me. It's just bless your families and your households, and God will bless them. You know, just, and ask God for the blessing.
amen. Well, we bless you in the name of Jesus. We hope that this encouraged you. And we just say, hang in there. Don't give up. That if you put God in the middle and you forgive one another and you love one another, God will work out the details.
And the training.
And training.
It's an inside joke.
Yeah, in America we always say, why would I want to start over? I got him well trained, and vice versa.
Not that well, but
Yeah, and he's got me trained, so you don't want to have to start all over and figure out how to live with somebody again. But anyway, we love you very much, and we hope this blessed you, and have a wonderful day. God
Amen.
bless.